Welcome to Book Buzz with Jen and Payne, a podcast focused on romance books. And we're here to talk about those romance books that leave us breathless. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday because we're also going to be giving out book recommendations and reviewing new book releases. Hello, welcome back to our podcast. My name's Jan.
I'm Payne.
And we're here to finally talk about Bridgerton. I finally finished the book. Finally. So this whole episode is going to be focused on Bridgerton. We're going to talk about the book. So if you haven't read the book and you want to read the book, I suggest you put this podcast on hold and then come back to it whenever you finish reading the book. We're going to compare the differences between the show and the book and then what we hope we see in season 2. I saw it fit that since we're going to be talking about Bridgerton, I was going to be wearing my Bridgerton shirt that I got from Hello Lovely Box. Mm-hmm. I bought so many Bridgerton t-shirts from them.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
I love it.
I know. And I'm just like, I want to wear them all the time. So if you want to wear a Bridgerton shirt, we're going to add the link below. Let's get to it. So the book was pretty, in my opinion, it was different.
Totally different.
The book was so different than the show, but it still kept that story meaning, like their love story, the same. So pretty much, as we all know, the show was about, Daphne and Simon. She's this young lady who is just brought up into this new season where she's looking for a husband. She's ready to start her family, but she wants to find somebody who she loves. Simon, like we saw on the show, is this close guy who doesn't want to get married, doesn't want to have family. Due to what happened with his dad, he wants to end the name there with him. He doesn't want to continue the bloodline. The show is like they end up falling in love, etc., etc. The book, somewhat like that, but it starts off different.
Yeah.
The book starts off where we see Simon's mom giving birth. After that, it jumps up, to Daphne being with her mom, discussing her marriage and how she's ready to get married. And then we see Simon arrive to London. So Simon, for me, I loved him in the book. Just because I think, as we know in the show, he never really showed that he was in love with Daphne. In the book, it's different. Like, he actually shows his interest in her. It's just the way they met is different. Because it literally, they met with a bang. She has this Nigel guy who's after her, could be her dad, and he's like weirdly obsessed with Daphne, and Daphne wants nothing to do with him. And they meet right where she hits him. And right from the start, he feels this attraction for her.
Yeah.
And that is until he realizes she's a Bridgerton. As we all know from the show, Anthony and Simon knew each other back from school when they were younger. That is where he is fighting his feelings for her because he doesn't want, best friend's little sister. Yeah. And I loved how they first met.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was like so funny. It was so cute. And all I could picture in my head when I was reading it was Reggae and Phoebe.
Yeah, same here.
So I know I mentioned before how I rarely read third-person books. I know it's hard for me to get into them. I don't know why. I never read them. I avoid them. So when I realized that Bridgerton was in third person, I was like, great. It's going to take me a whole month to read it. And surprisingly, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was very good. I couldn't put it down. Like I said, it was very different. The relationship with Daphne and her brothers was different. In the show, they added the prince and the queen. And they added Simon's friend, the fighter. I forgot his name.
Mondridge.
Yes, well, they added him on the show. It's the maid friend that she has whenever she goes home with after she marries Simon. They weren't never in the book. So they added stuff in the show to make it, I guess, more dramatic and suspenseful, you could say. So they added a lot of stuff in the show. In the book, you don't see that, but the book focuses mainly on Simon and Daphne.
Yeah.
You don't get any other story. You don't get Anthony's story. You don't get Eloise. Eloise, I don't think she even comes up in the book. She's only mentioned like once or twice. Same with the other siblings. So it's like in the show, other people and other characters get a story, but the book is solely focused on Simon and Daphne.
Yeah.
Which I loved, and I really wish we would have seen more of that in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it's like their love story, you understand it better. You see where he fell in love with her, and you see how she fell in love with him. Yeah. And it's like you see a different side of them that you didn't really get from the show.
Well, I love the show, obviously. Like, I've watched it tons of times, and I can't even keep track how many times I watched it. On one of my Instagram posts, I said, I love both. I really can't pick which one is better because the show is so well done, too. But the book was really well written, too. So I really can't pick which one is better because I love both. And I think one thing about the book that I would want to see was for Simon to be jealous, obviously. I love that they did it in the show because in the book, I don't think there was any, besides Nigel, there was really no one else to come pursue her to make him jealous, to make Simon jealous. So I love that in the show they have it because I love jealous Simon. That's one thing I really love about the show. And like you said, Phoebe and Reggae, they are perfect as Simon and Daphne. I can't picture anyone else being Simon and Daphne. Even though in the book, I'm pretty sure they're all white, but in the show, there's different ethnicities on it. The diversity of it was perfect.
Yes.
And I can't even picture Simon being a white guy anymore. Like, I see Reggae because everyone did such a good job that race is not really a problem, I guess you could say. I just adore them.
What I loved about it too was there were so many scenes that I wish they would have added in the show. So there was the scene with Anthony and Simon where I think it was the brother Gregory was running around and then falling in the pond. Yeah. That was hilarious. I was cracking up and I wish they would have added those little scenes in the show because you see them interact as a family more. Yeah. And I know that it was also touched in the show a little bit in the beginning on how Simon had a stutter problem. Yeah. But we only saw it for like when he was small. It never came back again. In the book, we actually see, even when he's an adult, we see his stutter come back. When he's scared or when he's angry, you can see it. And I really wish we would have seen that in the show. Yeah. Just because I felt like they touched base on it, but they never brought it back. And in the book, it still shows that he's struggling with it. He's still learning to control himself and be this man who wants to prove his dad that he didn't need him. And he's this guy who is well-spoken. In the book, he says that. Yeah. And that's what I loved about it, that you saw more of him battling his past. And that's what I liked about it. There was like, I loved his nickname for Daphne, how he kept calling her Dav. And I loved it. I think that's one of the things that I liked about the book too, that we actually see them lust over each other. Yeah. Because they actually flirt with each other, make each other swoon. There's a scene when they're going to Hastings' house, I think it was. Where he puts a little blanket on her legs because it's cold. So it's like the book had so many sweet moments that I was like, why wasn't this added in the show? And I totally pictured Reggae in that scene where it was, again, where they met, where she hits Nigel, where he was like shocked and laughing at the fact that she knocked him out. Yeah. And then he goes and knocks him out when he tries to go after Daphne. And it's like, I could not stop laughing at that scene. There's so many scenes that I love that aren't in the show. Yeah. Some scenes were played out different. Like that scene that everybody agrees to disagree
Yeah.
You know, it's different in the book.
Yeah.
Because when she finds out the truth, it's in the book is totally different. In the book, you see Simon actually want to be with Daphne. You know, he doesn't want her out of the room. He expects her to stay with him because, I mean, it's his wife. And then when that scene happens, she ends up leaving the room with her together. He goes and gets drunk. And he comes back ready to beg her to take him back and, you know, that they can get through this. And that scene where he wants to sleep with her in bed just to have her near him, I thought it was very sweet. And then that's when that scene happened. Which, once you read the book, you'll see that scene different. Because in the book, it goes into details a little bit more. You know what he's thinking and you know what she's thinking. So it's like, in the show, you only see her intention. I still think that scene was like, it was, I don't know how to explain it. It was very shocking. It was very shocking.
Yeah. I think in the book, to me, I feel like she's more at fault. Yes. She is really more at fault in the book because he was drunk. And she really took advantage of it.
In the book, yeah.
Yeah. But in the show, if we're going to talk about this, it's going to go on forever.
Well, no, like in the show, I think I liked how they changed it in the show.
Yeah.
I liked how they changed it because, in the book it's totally different. But what I think with the show is that Daphne she was clueless in the book, but she wasn't as clueless as she was in the show.
Yeah.
I think she had more of a little bit of a backbone in the book. And she's still this innocent, naive woman going into a marriage where her mom is refusing to have the talk with her. And I felt so bad for her.
Yeah.
Like I did when I watched the show. I'm just like, but it's sad. Like, things used to be like that.
Yeah. So sad. I'm glad I don't live during that time. I love the outfits and everything, but I'm glad I don't live during that time.
The vibe is different.
Yeah.
And you, like I said, the book, you understand more. The wedding, I'm jumping around because there's so many scenes that from the book, I really loved. Like, I love the scenes in the book because, like I said, you see Simon actually lusting over her. You see the attraction that he has for her.
Yeah.
In the show, you don't. Like, their wedding in the show was very dry. Like, they were forced to be there. In the book, I mean, when they're declared husband and wife, he legit goes after her and kisses her.
Yeah.
And the show, he doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's like those little scenes that I really wished we would have seen on the show.
Somehow the show, it's mainly looked through her point of view instead of through Simon. I think that's why we don't really see his feelings for her. If I remember correctly, I think Phoebe said it a lot of times in interviews where she said, like, all those sensual scene is through her eyes instead of through Simon's eyes. So I think that's also one reason why we probably don't really see Simon's feelings. In the show, he is like pretty much a closed-off guy. He doesn't have, besides Mondridge and Anthony, then he doesn't have any friends.
In the book, he mentions that he has friends, but they're all married.
Yeah.
Besides Anthony.
Yeah.
But he does say how, you know, they've become fools who now are married. And, you know, oh my gosh. So I really wish they would have added that. Because there's scenes with Colin, Anthony, Benedict, when they're talking to Simon. It's hilarious. Oh my goodness. They're so funny.
Yeah.
And that's something I really wish would have been on the show because we saw their brother bond more in the book.
Yeah.
Like, there's a scene towards the end of the book where Daphne and Simon make up. And then next thing you know, you have those three brothers going into his house. Trying to see if he's worthy of still being with Daphne.
Yeah.
I love their protectiveness. They're so protective of her. And I wish we would have seen that. Because in the book, her relationship with Colin I loved it.
Yeah.
He was this protective brother. And in the book, I think it's mentioned how they're closer due to them being closer to age. But in the show, it's seen as if Daphne and Anthony are closer.
Yeah.
And I loved their scenes. It's like they're like the scene where she begs him to tell her where they're gonna be doing the duel. I loved it because he was so protective of her.
Yeah.
And that's another scene too, where Daphne punches Simon. That scene in the book was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because in the book, she punches him.
Yeah, and he got a black eye.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that whole scene in the book was amazing. Like he got mad and wanted to go after Colin for bringing Daphne into a middle of that situation where she could have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
So it's like those scenes that you see them all interact together, they're hilarious. I really liked Colin in the book. And I think we saw more of him in the book than we did on the show.
Well, in the show, they totally add a story to him in the show.
Yeah.
Marina wasn't in the book either. She was totally added in the show too. So I think they added that to the show so you don't really see his relationship with Daphne.
Yeah.
You see his relationship more with Marina and with Penelope. The Featheringtons was not really in this book either.
No.
They're like only mentioned at the beginning and then that was pretty much it.
Yeah. And another difference too with them is that in the show, their husband dies towards the end of the show. In the book, her husband had already passed, what was it, 2 to 3 years before?
Yeah.
So it's like they changed so many things.
Yeah.
They added things, they took off things, they changed timelines.
Also, Colin came back from his trip already. And in the show, he was barely leaving.
Oh, yeah.
So that's totally different.
I really did love Whistledown. With every chapter, it was a gossip story of her. I love that they kept that up. It really reminds me of Gossip Girl.
I have not seen Gossip Girl. Have not watched it, and I don't plan on watching it.
I'm over here rolling my eyes right now because I want to get into that conversation. But it did feel for me that I've seen Gossip Girl like 1,000 times. It did feel like Gossip Girl because, you know, you have this gossip person who nobody knows who it is. And somehow everybody's complaining about her, but they're all buying the newspaper where she's gossiping about everybody. And that's the part that made me laugh. It's like Violet, the mom, is complaining about her spreading lies, but she's over here buying the newspaper. You have Simon complaining towards the end of the book how she's giving away their personal information, yet he's buying the newspaper.
Yeah.
It's like, I found that hilarious, but I loved how they kept that up because in the show, that's how they did it.
Yeah.
But I will say that at the end of the show, they reveal that supposedly Penelope is Whistledown.
Yeah.
In the book, they never reveal who it is.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if that's going to be different.
In the show, out of all the brothers, I was not interested in Benedict. Anthony and Colin, yes. But I didn't really care about Benedict's story. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
You know how I feel about that because I loved him. We don't see a lot of him. But like I said, we see them as protective brothers, which I love. I thought he was funny. But again, in the show, we see him interact more with Eloise. In the book, it's like he's always with Anthony or Colin. I really wish they would have done, after that whole Daphne trying to get pregnant and everything scene, in the book, Simon leaves her.
Yeah, that part hurted me. I was like, how dare you? Like, he left her. He literally left her for 2 months.
Yeah.
I was like, that is so sad.
He left her. And I thought it was, like you said, it was very sad. But I thought, when I was watching the show, I disliked him so bad. Because I thought he was so rude to her. Like, I disliked him. But in the book, I felt bad for him. So when he left, I understood why he did it.
Yeah.
But it still hurt. But what I wished, and I keep going back to the show, when they got back together, is so different than the way they got back together in the book.
Yeah.
In the book, spoiler alert, In the book, she writes him a letter where she hadn't gotten her period. And she wrote him a letter saying she was pregnant. He came back, and the way they like make up, I love that scene.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love seeing him mad and go after her.
Yeah.
Because if, I'm just going to say it, he gets to London after receiving the letter from Daphne saying that she's pregnant. And they inform him that she's out riding a horse.
Yeah.
So he gets furious that she's pregnant, riding a horse.
Yeah.
So he goes after her, and she ends up having a little accident.
Yeah.
So that whole scene, I loved it. I loved him. Yeah. And for her to tell him that she's not pregnant, like that part in the show where in the theater where she gets her period and everything, it broke my heart. It broke my heart. But in the book, I thought I loved it. So I don't know which scene I liked more. Just because I really loved seeing Simon scared for her and the baby he thought they were expecting.
In the show, I feel for both of them because Reggae did such a fantastic job because you can see his eyes was glassy and like he wanted to cry too. When Daphne was crying in the show, I was like, oh my gosh, like my heart literally
that scene,
for both of them.
That scene when her crying, girl, I remember watching it and I texted you, remember? Like, I hate him. What is he doing to her?
Yeah. But he was sad too.
Another thing, it's like in the book, he tells her that he loves her.
Yes. In the show, did they ever say it?
No, he never said it in the show. He never said it.
That's right. He
told her, I burned for you. But in the book, like when the brothers come and tell him, when they made up, they go and tell him, we need to know if you love her. He pulls her aside because he doesn't want to admit it to them before he tells her that he loves her. So in the book, he tells her after that scene that he loves her several times. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I really wish we would have seen that in the show.
Yeah.
But he never told her.
Yeah.
He just stood there and looked at her.
Like, bruh, say something. I love the Duke, but there are things that he needs to do better.
But I mean, that was in the show.
In the show, he was all really more like a dominant alpha hero. But in the book, you see a more soft, gentle Simon.
Going back to that scene after he gets drunk, that he doesn't want to be without her.
Yeah.
Like he goes and looks for her. He's ready to fight for her. And we see, like you said, a softer, more loving Simon than we saw in the show.
Yeah.
Because even in the beginning, he can't hide his feelings for her. He's taken by her like from the start. He notices her right away. And I think that's what I loved about it was that he tried to hide it, but he just couldn't.
Yeah.
And the whole scene with Anthony, and also like in the book, they tell Anthony their plan.
I know. I was shocked.
Yes.
I was like, what? They told Anthony? He knows.
And it's like, they told him in the book, and it like you said, it shocked me. But then we also see to where he's ready to die for her. He's ready to take a hit for her. And I love that. I really wish we would have gotten this Simon. Yeah. Because we know more about him. Like I said earlier, in the book, we see his problem with stuttering come back. And we see him still battling his past. And that's what I loved about it. I really wish we would have seen that.
Although we love the show Simon, we love the book Simon too.
Netflix did an amazing job though.
Yeah.
Did an amazing job with casting, with the script, everything. I loved it. And like you said earlier on, the way they brought ethnicity into the book, it's like every character I was reading was the character from the show. That's who I pictured. That's what I pictured. It's like Reggae was meant to be Simon. He played that role so well. Same with Phoebe playing Daphne. It was like Phoebe has that innocent that Daphne had. She played that role back to the theater scene so freaking good. Like, I was in tears myself. That scene where her mom is talking to her about, you know, her wedding night. When you look at it in the show, it's like this poor innocent girl, she's scared because she's never she doesn't know what to expect. She doesn't know what she's going into. She doesn't know. She knows absolutely nothing. And you have a mom here who sugarcoats everything, who doesn't want to go into details because she's uncomfortable. And Phoebe got that role to where it's like you see her innocence. You see Daphne's innocence that she has in the book, because she's this innocent, naive girl who literally her mom throws her into the woods and doesn't tell her anything. Violet is just how she is in the book is how she is in the show. She is like that mom who's freaking crazy. I loved her in the book. I loved her in the show. But she did have more of a storyline in the show. Because in the book, it starts off with she doesn't want Daphne anywhere near Simon. And then after he goes and wins her over, takes her flowers, that's when she's like, okay, I approve of you, Simon.
I think it was cute, though, like how he brought her flowers.
I thought it was cute.
Yeah, it was.
So there was a scene too where after they made up, where he accepts that, you know, he wants to have a family with Daphne, where he asks Daphne what she would do or how she would feel if they had a kid who would stutter. That whole scene was beautiful. I cried. I legit cried. Because it's like Daphne's like, I will love him or her no matter what. And he's like, will you feel different for him? And she said, no, because with your help, we're going to help him. And it's like that scene was so pure. We saw them both as a married adult couple. They were wanting the same thing.
They should have in the show them discussing about having a family more. I hope they will show more in the show.
And you know, another thing that you just said with his dad, in the book, his dad leaves him letters.
But it was stupid letters, though. I was like, seriously? You just gotta talk about this?
But I think I get it. He got closure.
I
think that those letters gave him the closure that he needed, you know, to close that chapter in his life and say, I'm moving on. Like, I'm not gonna live trying to prove my father wrong. He's gonna live for himself and for his family instead of having his dad, like Daphne mentioned in the book, his dad is always there with him because everything Simon does is to prove his dad wrong. So it's like, I feel like those letters, they weren't necessary, but I think for him in his story, they were, just because, like I said, it's a closure for him. So I thought that was very interesting. Another thing that you said, it's like for season 2, I really hope we see more of them. I hope we see them, you know, Simon battle his fear of becoming a parent. And them as a couple, because I know Reggae said once that he would like to see them, because not because they're married doesn't mean that they live happily ever after. So it's like, I really hope that in season 2 we see, and I know you're gonna disagree, and I hope in season 2 we see them like argue, we see them get stronger together. Just because I feel like he said, like Reggae said, it's not all rainbows and roses.
Well, like, as long as they get together at the end of the show, then I'm okay with it. Oh my gosh, we totally forgot to mention that in the book, their first 3 kids are girls. But in the show, they have a baby boy.
Their firstborn is a boy. Because in the book, they have 3 girls. They have Amelia, which is their firstborn. Belinda is their second, and Caroline's their third. And then David, which is finally the boy, is the 4th. So in the show, they have a boy first. So I wonder how they have to have a story in the second season. Like, I don't know. I feel like I said, like in the show, they added several stories to characters that in the book they didn't have.
Yeah.
Like, because in the show we saw a whole Anthony story.
Yeah.
In the book, he didn't have a story.
Yeah.
He was just a protective brother who didn't want Simon and Daphne together, and who was always protecting Daphne, but that's it. I mean, I really enjoyed book 1. So if you haven't read book 1, I definitely recommend it. It's very, very interesting. And for someone, coming from someone who doesn't read third-person books, I'm recommending this one hardcore. Like, it is, I liked it a lot. I really, really liked it a lot. I wasn't distracted. I actually wanted to keep reading. Like, I loved it. I love Simon. I love their story.
Yeah.
I wish we would have seen a little bit more of the Simon and Daphne that we saw in the book. But I mean, the show and the book they're very good. Netflix did a really, really good job.
Yeah.
So I'll probably read book 2 soon, though. So I'm very curious about Anthony.
So what's your favorite 3 scenes from the show, and then your favorite 3 scenes from the book?
Okay, from the show, it has to be that dancing. The one where Anthony tells Benedict to go and get Daphne after they're dancing. That one. The second one would be their first time. Just because I like that whole scene to where he admits that he burns for her. And then I think the last scene where he admits that he wants to be with her.
Okay.
I think those have to be my favorite from the show. From the book, it has to be where they met. Then when they get married, where they go on the carriage and he covers her legs because she's cold, and they end up getting in a hotel and everything. And then the last one from the book, it has to be where he goes after her and the horse. I think those have to be that whole scene to where, and then they end up coming home and we're here to see if we're letting Daphne stay with you. And then he's like, you're letting me, she's my wife.
Yeah.
That whole scene, it has to be one of my favorites. So I think those 3.
Favorite 3 top scenes from the show is, one of them is when they went to the Queen, when he was like, I wanted her to be my wife. That scene is one of them. I think I would have loved the scene where after their ball and when he went to the room and he said he doesn't want to be alone. I think that would have been one of my favorite if line was not so dual.
Yeah.
If his line would have been better, I think that would have been one of my favorite scenes ever. But because he was like, I don't want to be alone anymore. I know that now. He's like, what?
It felt very rushed. It was very rushed, yes. But it's still cute, though.
It's still cute when she tells him that she loves him. That is also one of my favorite scenes. In the book, like you mentioned, that their meeting scene, I'm pretty sure in the book mine is all pretty much the same like yours. Like their wedding, and then when they made up, where he chases after her while she's riding the horse, and then that crying scene. Those are probably my top scenes from the book. So since we decided to talk about Bridgerton, we are going to have a Bridgerton giveaway. And we are just not going to have one winner. We're going to have 2 winners. If you missed the Bridgerton book box from cover to cover, we will be giving away one of the boxes. And the second winner will be giving the Duke and I paperback. Just a heads up, these paperbacks are not signed. In order to enter the giveaway, make sure you follow us on Instagram. Our handle is BookBuzz Podcast. Click the link on our Instagram bio and fill out the form. The giveaway will be closing on April 7th, and we will announce the winner on April 8th.
And I do want to say we did notify the winner for our Alexandra Silva signed paperback giveaway. So she was already notified. I spoke to her, so we're going to be sending out that book to her ASAP. Just make sure that you enter our Bridgerton giveaway. Again, be notifying the winner via email and via Instagram. So make sure you're following us there. And in case you missed our announcement earlier this week on Instagram, we're thrilled to announce that we're going to start having authors as guests in our podcast. Make sure you're following us on Instagram so you can find out who our first author guest will be. If you have any questions, just send us a message on Instagram and we'll get back to you ASAP. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.